Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sivan Tehila. I am the founder of Cyber Ladies New York City and the director of solution architecture at Bermuda 81. I have the honor to be here today with Shira Shamban and Flis, and we're going to talk about cloud security strategy. But before we're going to start, I would love to thank CyberX for having us today in this session, and also tell you in few words about Cyber Ladies New York City and about myself, and then I'll let our very special panelists to introduce themselves as well. So Cyber Ladies New York City is a community to empower women in cybersecurity, to share knowledge and to expose more women to the cybersecurity profession. As many of us already know, women make up only 20% of the cybersecurity workforce, and we're here to encourage more women to join the industry and to promote diversity in the field, and hopefully very soon we're going to see more and more women joining us. And so thank you everyone for your support. A special thanks again to CyberX for having us in this session, and generally for this amazing conference, cybersecurity beyond borders. And that's Cyber Ladies. A little bit about myself. So I started my career in the Israeli Defense Forces, where I served for 10 years as a cybersecurity officer. I was the head of the Information Security Unit of the Intelligence Corp and the CISO of the Research and Analysis Division. Later, I joined Rafael, which is an Israeli defense industry, and there I also worked around 2 years as a cybersecurity officer and expert. Afterwards, I joined the Israel Railways, which is a critical infrastructure. That's a little bit different than what I used to do. As it's a critical infrastructure, and it requires a little bit different skills, but it was a great experience. And later I moved to New York and I founded Cyber Ladies. We started as a small community, and now we have around 200 women who live in New York and are part of this community. Besides that, I'm teaching at Yeshiva University as part of the master program, and I am working with Bermuda 81, which is a cloud-based remote access solution and the SASE platform. So thanks again. And now to our special panelists. Vered, I'll let you start and introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Sivan. Wow. Okay,
we can hear you well.
Yes, okay. I heard an echo. Okay, so hi everyone, and thank you so very much, Sivan, for inviting me here. So my name is Flis, and I'm a R&D manager and a software architect with over 10 years of experience in the tech industry, in the healthcare industry, and now in the military industry, okay, in the defense industry, basically. Also working with very tightly with Rafael. By the way, Sivan, yes, specializing in a cloud native and web-related technology stacks. Okay, I'm also the founder of Women in Clouds Israel community. Our community promotes and exposes women to cloud technology challenges and opportunities. Yes, and you are both too are part of this community, and I want to take the opportunity and thank you for that, for your support as well. In between, I'm the mother of 3 amazing boys and a long distance runner. So this is me, and I'm truly excited to be here.
Thank you so much.
Forwarding the mic to Shira. What? Yes, Sivan?
Yeah, I forgot to mention that originally the idea to found Cyber Ladies here was because we were part of a leading Cyber Ladies community in Israel, and Shira was one of the amazing women who started this community. So I think the three of us share this, passion to promote women. So I'll let you, Shira, maybe tell about yourself and your activities too.
Thank you, Sivan. It's great to be here today with you and with Vered, two amazing women. Um, so I, just like many other people, started my cybersecurity career in the military. After a 13-year-long experience over there, I decided to see what civil life feels like. So I took a long leave and just went to talk to as many people as possible to hear what is the tech industry all about. Basically, everyone explained to me that there are two options: to go to a startup or go to a corporate. So I had two job offers from a startup and from a corporate. Something didn't feel right, and I was brave enough to let go of both offers and continue searching for what I really want to do. After a few months, I met Dome 9 Security and joined them to very vaguely start a product of big data in the cloud. It was pretty unclear as to what we were going to do over there, but I started a security research team that was quite unique at the time because it was dedicated for the cloud. And we started an intrusion detection product. So that was a big data analysis product. And after Dome9 got acquired by Checkpoint, I knew that this is the right time to think about the next big thing. And I sat down with my co-founder to think about what we want to do. Maybe we'll talk about it later. But this is how we founded Solvo. It's the company where I am the CEO and my co-founder David is the CTO. And we do cloud security starting on the left side of software lifecycle. So we help developers, DevOps, and security practitioners to deliver cloud native applications that are secured as early as possible. We do it automatically. And by the way, news for everyone listening to us today, we're going to launch our free product next Monday. So
exciting.
This is a scoop for everyone.
Yeah.
And
I
yeah,
want to
that's
try
right,
it. Okay.
That's what we organized this session for.
For sure.
Yeah, so this is a little bit about myself.
Awesome. Thank you.
Impressive. Yes.
Thank you so much. This is very impressive. I feel like it's an honor to be here with the two of you. And as we're going to talk about cloud, I wondered, we were talking about our career path and, we worked for large organizations. As Shira said, we are kind of had an experience with the corporate life, the startup life, and we see an emerging adoption of cloud, especially now, but I think it started a few years ago. And I wondered, what do you find so interesting in working in cloud, and how did you start your journey in the cloud? I can tell you that for me, it was a pretty new thing, even though I was exposed to cloud technologies when I was in the army and in other companies I worked for, but only when I started my startup life, I was diving deep into this world. I fell in love with the cloud. It just makes everything so easy, and I guess that's why the name cloud was chosen for this technology. It's like easy, soft, easy to understand, easy to maintain and manage. And I feel like now if I'm thinking about myself back, when I was working for corporate, I feel like it's hard to go back after you start working with cloud and you get used to that everything is so easy to scale and manage. And I would love to hear from you about your journey, Shira. I'll start with you.
All right. I started talking a little bit about this before. So, and I think it might be a good lesson for some of our audience, because I had no background working with the cloud. During my military service, I was doing other things and not related to cloud technology. And many people think, oh, I don't have background in this and that, so how can I find a job in this? So this is a great lesson for everyone, to let you know that you don't necessarily need to have practical background in something. You just need to be very hungry to learn something new. And as I joined Dome 9, I knew it was up to me to do a lot of homework about cloud. What's the cloud? How does it work? There was no one there to teach me, to guide me, because it was a new product that I was the only one working on. So it's not like I had other team members to learn from. So I just created a onboarding program for myself to learn everything from cloud basics, how to, spin up a new cloud environment, how to run a cloud application, what are the challenges in that, best practices. And I just learned it by myself. The best way to learn is just do it with your own hands. Go and open a cloud account. It's free. All the cloud vendors have a free tier where you can spin up machines for free forever. So don't be shy and just go and do it. And this is what I did. And this is how I started my cloud journey. And the more I got into it, I also saw that I can take some of the knowledge that I had previously from other worlds and melt it into the world of cloud. So, for example, if I was doing, again, cybersecurity or security that was related to different aspects, not to the cloud, for example, in intrusion detection, how to find anomalies, I took those best practices and tried to see how can I implement them in the world of cloud. So I learned about the data and the logs that flow in the cloud. And I just said, okay, so anomaly detection. What is the data that we have? How can we create baseline? And what should we consider an anomaly, at least from the security perspective? Some anomalies can be related to operations, but our focus was security. So I just took best practices from a different world and melted them into a new world, the world of cloud, and created a new domain. There wasn't, excuse me, that much expertise in intrusion detection or anomaly detection that is unique to the cloud. We had to learn what's so special about it. Why is it different than doing network analysis in the on-prem? So we had to create a new domain of expertise. And this is how you do it. And this is how I became a domain expert in log analysis in the cloud. You become an expert when you just know that you know a little more than other people. And the most important thing is that after you think you know more, you go and share your knowledge. You go and speak about it, you write about it, you share whatever it is that you know. It's very important. At the end of the day, we're doing cybersecurity. We try to protect other environments. And it's really great to share what you learned with other experts who can help, other organizations be more secured. So this is how I started, and I became very passionate about it because, Sivan, as you mentioned before, people love using the cloud for many good reasons. It's very easy. The managed services are a new world for us. It became so easy to create a very complicated application where you don't really have to develop from scratch a lot of its components and its capabilities. So it's really good, and it's really, you build an application by taking pieces of application that AWS or GCP or Azure created for you, and you have to make sure that they orchestrate really well. So every developer becomes a little architect. It's amazing, it's different, and obviously the world is there. It's not that we're no longer migrating to the cloud. Now we are scaling and we're exploding in the cloud. So it's a great place to be at. It's a great time to be at, and I'm really excited for what's going to come next. So Vered.
Thank you, Shira.
Thank you.
Yes, I think that I truly believe in what you say. And for me, my journey in the cloud, I started a few years ago as a developer. Basically, I started to hear more and more about, the cloud native approach and the cloud native ecosystem. Cloud native basically applications is architected in a way which is native to the cloud, and is utilizing the cloud computing model to the maximum. Okay, so we started, I think, as everyone else, okay, to build cloud native applications. You know, microservices architectures. The services are containerized. We apply the CI/CD pipelines. It took automation to the maximum, etc. But you know, when we and it works great, right? We have a lot of open source tools and services, you know, supported by the CNCF, Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Amazing ecosystem, by the way. But in parallel, you know, we wanted to move faster and focus on bringing true value to the customers, our customers, and not on the plumbing, you know, the infrastructures, the installation, all the maintenance stuff. So the most reasonable thing for us was, you know, to use the public cloud services, managed services, okay? And as you already mentioned, when you you know, when you start with the cloud, okay, so you can basically go back. I think that the path to, you know, secured, resilient, scalable, highly available applications and products, basically, has never been shorter. Okay, and this is the thanks to public cloud technologies and services. So this is for me truly exciting. Okay, the innovation aspect of cloud technologies. I think that Shira covered most of the things that I also think. But again, I already basically mentioned it. Last year, I established the Women in Clouds Israel, okay, community. Due to the excitement and really the innovation I find in this domain, the cloud domain, the community basically aims, you know, to inspire more women to join the cloud computing tech ecosystem. And this is basically an amazing journey for me. I meet a lot of amazing women like you. I have a lot of support from the tech giants. They truly understand that we have to bring more women to this industry. We need manpower, you know, more people that understand, that have expertise in the cloud industry. And one way of doing it is bringing women, okay? And this is basically my goal, okay, to inspire other women, and I hope that I will succeed, you know. This is my career, yes.
You definitely are an inspiration for many women.
Trying.
And I follow your activity, and it's very inspiring. I feel like I understand what you say. We live in a world where everything is a service, right? So, and I wrote that here. I'm talking about that a lot with my students because I'm teaching them now cloud security. I'm preparing them for the CCSK exam, which is a certificate from Cloud Security Alliance. And, you know, some of the things there feels like they're very basic. And as Shira said, going back to basics of security and apply those models in the cloud makes things just feel like more neutral and more, and it makes sense, right? Because when we're talking about security in the cloud, we're talking about defense in depth. I mean, layered security approach, how you add multiple layers of security. What else? Least privilege, how you manage permissions in the cloud. And so that's kind of the exercise I'm trying to do with people who are more network people. And when they're moving to cloud, I'm telling them, I mean, no problem. There are many frameworks, there are many things we can work with, but take all these basic things that you know from your experience. I mean, I guess it works the same way when you're a developer. So you just take all your knowledge and try to break it down to the simple things, go back to basics, and it just makes sense. I mean, if we're thinking about the NIST framework, that we're working with NIST for almost everything else, and all the other frameworks that were developed based on NIST, including some of the cloud security matrices are basically working the same way. So I feel like that's how I'm I started my really deep understanding with cloud and working with cloud. There is also another interesting thing that I wondered what you have to say about that. I took a digital transformation course in MIT, and basically under digital transformation, they have 5 models. They combine cloud, AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, and the 5th one, now I forgot what it is, but I thought it's an interesting combination because it really, when you think about that, those 5 domains that they chose are pretty much, I mean, they should work together. And when we live in a digital transformation age, I feel like everyone needs to have a basic knowledge about cloud, AI, blockchain, cybersecurity, and all the other things that build this. All the things that are becoming part of our life. And I feel like at some point very soon, we will need to explain our parents how to use a digital wallet, for example. I feel like those are things that have to become something that is a basic skill for everyone. I wondered what's your perspective on that? And if you think that we can really teach our parents, for example, how to use cloud or cloud-based services.
I think that our parents are already using the cloud. Many of them,
they even don't know, right?
All of them probably use, and
Consume.
maybe it's important to say another thing about when we say using the cloud. There is the creating an application that is running in the cloud, and you as the end user, you call an Uber, right? You don't really mess with the cloud. For you, it doesn't matter if this is an on-prem application or a cloud application. This is an application, and the infrastructure engineers at Uber have to decide where to run it and how to use it. This is one manner. The other manner is the cloud applications, the Google Drive, Gmail, and all the other, equivalents of Microsoft Office 365 and so on. So this is a different use of cloud applications. And in the digital transformation era, today, organizations move from the on-prem Microsoft suite to the Office 365. So as an organization, they have to change their mindset. I think that the advantages go, way beyond the disadvantages. All of a sudden, you write a document, you can share it with your colleague, you can work on it together. You don't have to keep it like doc one final, doc one most final version, ready for review, So all of a sudden, using these applications becomes very smooth, very easy. So everyone is using the cloud today. I think that the other important thing that you mentioned was the topic of cybersecurity. And one thing all of us should be talking about with our parents is the security of how to use these applications. We very often put sensitive data into them because we assume that it's not shared with anyone, but usually it is. And at the end of the day, they will be hacked. For example, I can tell you that I never uploaded my passport photo to any airline application because I didn't trust them. And a few weeks ago, one of the big US airlines was hacked. The application was hacked. So I was very relieved that keeping my passport over there could have saved me some time when doing the check-in, but I preferred not to share that little piece of information, and that turned out to be a good decision. At the end of the day, all these applications will be hacked or have been hacked, and we should always assume the worst and make sure we protect our data the best way possible. So education about cybersecurity is important for everyone, not only for the experts, not only for the ones with certificates, not only for the CISO. It's important for all of us, depending on how we use the cloud.
I totally agree with that.
Yes, regarding the digital transformations, transformation pillars you listed, I agree, but I think that the cybersecurity is like the basic. Okay, you cannot do any disruption, any transformation without security and resilient cybersecurity. This is for sure. Okay, you can do disruption without AI or without IoT. You know, not all the applications are utilizing IoT today or blockchain technologies, but we are still in the middle of the transformation, right? But without cybersecurity, it won't exist. It just can't happen, I think. So the cybersecurity I think is the common ground between all the items you listed. All the others, by the way, AI, IoT, blockchains are truly have and actually are doing and having a great potential to do real disruptions in a lot of industries. That's right. But without cybersecurity,
yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I mean, it's not me that. I mean, it's MIT. That's
for
how
sure.
they break
the course. Perspective,
and I thought, and I agree with you. I felt like cybersecurity is kind of the basic, how we wrap up all this package in a way when we can consume it without exposing ourselves to who knows what. And I also think, Shira, that what you mentioned is so important. I think I forgot to mention at the beginning that I'm working with high school students here. I developed a program from high school students in Manhattan High School for girls. And one of the things that were important for the principal of the school is to educate those young ladies, to give them a good, a strong background before they go to college on how to protect themselves, how to use all these new technologies that are not necessarily part of their day-to-day life. And I see the excitement in their eyes when I'm talking about all these things, and it's so, I love it. If you would ask me a few years ago if I will teach in a high school, so I would tell you, no way, not for me. But because I see their excitement, I'm only doing that once a week, an hour, and they're so curious to learn. And anytime I'm mentioning something that is a little bit part of their life, like, IoT, Alexa, how we use Google Classroom, and, Google Classroom, it's basically a cloud. Did you hear my Alexa? She just responded. I need to mute her when I'm doing webinars.
No, the opposite. You can ask her, to ask good questions.
So basically, I feel like it is becoming more and more important to educate young adults, and talking about blockchain. I mean, even for me as a cybersecurity expert, I started to explore and understand in blockchain only during the last years, because I realized that, I mean, if you're not buying cryptocurrencies now, so maybe one day you'll stay behind, especially if you're going to be hacked, right? You need to have your own, and I think that many companies understand that now all those components, it's a kind of a combination, and we need to understand in all these areas. And as C2 said, we all use applications that are that are based on the cloud or stored in a cloud. AI is something that we don't even know, but it's definitely part of our life. IoT and all the other things. So I guess that takes me to the next topic we wanted to discuss, which is, the last year was pretty crazy with the pandemic, and we've seen more and more companies that adopt cloud security solutions and cloud environment. And I think that what I found interesting is that even companies that in the past wasn't thinking about cloud as an option at all, like, critical infrastructure, government, or other industries that cloud was a kind of a taboo, something that no one wants to deal with. I see that I feel like they're more open to adopt cloud environments. And I wondered how did you experience that from your day-to-day work or discussions with your colleagues, and what's your perspective on that? But you can start.
Yes. Well, Sivan, I think that the pandemic. We talked about digital transformations, right? So I think that the pandemic is a truly powerful force, which drives the digital transformations we are all experiencing at the moment, right? Moving to the cloud basically became a core priority for any organization in order to stay in business. That's for sure. Okay. Digital transformations, which would have taken years, okay, in a COVID-less world, are now happening in just a few months. Okay. I think it's mind-blowing, right? By the way, I just read an article where Satya Nadella, okay, Microsoft CEO, made a truly profound comment. He said, "Leaders realize I won't exist if I'm not in the cloud." Okay, so I don't know. I don't know what about you, but I find it, a very stark message. Okay, because he didn't say that the leaders were worried that revenue might slow down, etc. They were basically worried that they and their organization would simply disappear. Okay, if they won't move to the cloud. So this is kind of shocking. I read it, I don't know, 2 days ago or something like this. And the leaders he was talking about weren't, the tech leaders. They were basically leaders from governments, okay, as we mentioned, schools, hospitals, very varied sectors, okay, a list of sectors. So I think that we are in the middle of an amazing ride, okay, the digital transformation ride, led by the tech giants, okay, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, of course, etc. I would even argue that we are not in a ride, we are more in a race, okay, a race over each and every customer, each and every industry. I know that Microsoft is now pushing very hard to get into the telecom industry, in the telecom and I forgot. Sorry, I will in a moment. And I think that we are in the middle of a cloud wars. Okay, the cloud wars is a term. Okay, that is, I think, best describe the situation right now. You can see that all the cloud providers are basically building regions all over the world. So they're trying basically to get or to attract even startups, which are just starting even in only, I think, in seed phase. Okay. They understand, I think that cloud providers understand that now they're in seed phase, but in a few years, and it can happen, okay? In few years, they can become a unicorn, okay? With the tons of workloads, okay, with VMs, container, etc. And this is a lot of money. So the cloud wars are here, okay? And I think that we are benefiting from it, okay? Because there is competition between the vendors, more attractive prices, more innovation, because everyone wants to, innovate and provide more value to us, the customers. So I think that, this is amazing times in regards to the cloud and the digital transformations that we are experiencing. And the big boost came from the COVID, I think. This is what I believe. What do you think about it, Shira?
First of all, I agree with everything that you said. And I think that in relate to what I said before, I think that, the cloud accelerated the need for organizations to use cloud applications, right? The Office 365 or G Suite and all the others, because all of a sudden, if you want to continue your business, you have to allow people to work from home. If they work from home, they take the laptop home. They need a laptop, okay? It's not a PC.
For sure.
And yeah, so using the cloud makes a lot of sense, so that they can continue as normally as possible to cooperate with their colleagues, and these cloud applications are enabling exactly that. And then there is the migration into the cloud. I used to think that why do we keep on talking about migration? Isn't everyone already in the cloud? Now it's about to, expanding. But no, actually, most of the workloads in the world are still on-prem, and organizations are struggling to migrate them into the cloud, because it's not only the lift and shift, it's also make sure that the logic of the application is going to work in the cloud. When you do a lift and shift, you don't really take advantage of the power of the cloud, the power of the managed services. You just take your server and now use Amazon server, and it's not a wise thing to do. Also, from the operations perspective, from the cost perspective, it's not the wisest thing to do. So all of a sudden, an organization decided to, push down the pedal on cloud acceleration. They have to move fast. They have to sometimes rewrite their applications, and they have to make sure they are cloud adaptable. And all of this is happening fast, but it's actually the right thing to do. And it's unfortunate that the organizations needed a pandemic to do it, but at least they're doing it. It's smarter. It enables growth. It enables us to create more applications and more benefit for our customers. Think about it. I mean, today you have the application of your bank, so you don't really need to call them, and no one even goes to the bank unless you don't have a smartphone. It makes a lot of sense. My grandmothers go to the bank, but if you have a smartphone, you don't really have to go to the bank anymore. Why? Because they have an application. The application is in the cloud. It's awesome. So I think that the more organizations will migrate or build cloud native applications, for us as customers, we will only benefit from that. We will get a better service. We will get better applicativity. We will get better availability.
User experience. Yes.
Exactly. So it only makes sense
Right.
that organizations do that. And I think that it will only take us to good places for as long as we will know how to use the cloud the right way. I know that there is another problem of trust in the cloud.
Right.
People think, oh, but it's not my data center. I don't control the servers. So what's going to happen if? But those ifs can also happen in your basement. The good thing about the cloud is the fact that the cloud providers are actually, they promise us, I don't want to take it to the test, but they promise us that if, one availability zone is down, we will have another one, or you can duplicate your applications to several regions. So I can have I sit in Tel Aviv, but I can have my application running in Mumbai and in Paris at the same time. So it's really the wisest thing to do right now. And also a message to our audience: please keep a backup of everything that you're doing in the
Yeah.
All right. But yes, but I think that we are saying amazing thing about technology, the cloud technologies. But I think that with a great power, comes a great responsibility of those tech giants, in regards to security. Okay, and I really think that they take security very seriously, by the way, and put high priority on it. Okay, you can see the number of cybersecurity companies acquired by those giants.
Yep.
Okay, Microsoft, I think, is like just eating all the startups, the Israeli startups. I think, but the cloud provider is not the only one responsible for security, right?
This is why it's called a shared responsibility model.
Right. The shared responsibility regarding cloud security between the cloud provider and the organization, basically. So this is very, very important. I think that you can think of it like the cloud provider is responsible for the security of of the cloud, right? Ensuring that, let's say, the data centers, the routers, the switches, the hardware, right, in the data centers are all secured. But you as a customer, right, you should maintain security in the cloud, right? So when you deploy an application in the cloud, right, how you configure the application, the firewall rules, whether you use encryption or not, this is really your responsibility as a customer. And I think I heard that there is a business analyst from Gartner that says that 99% of the failures in a cloud, in running in cloud or migrating to the cloud, are occurring due to basically the customer's fault, because they're not getting security in the cloud correctly. So this is something that is very important to understand, right?
So I'll add on top of that, Gartner also has a statistics that 75% of cloud failures are because we didn't do identity and access management the right way. So 99% are the user's fault, 75% are not doing identity and access management. So what does it tell us? That if we're using a cloud application, we should go and read some articles about how to do identity and access management. And it's actually related to something that Sivan said before, because we talked about taking best practices from networking and using them in the cloud, but we also need to understand that some things are different. For example, if in the on-prem days, so we had, you knew where the access to the internet is, where your storage ended, and you're now out to the internet. It's a public IP address. It's a gateway. In the cloud, like, network is no longer a perimeter, because it's not like your infrastructure is gated somewhere. It's in the cloud. So network, I'm not saying that network is not important, but it's definitely not as important as it used to be. Identity is the new perimeter in the cloud. Today, we have to define for every cloud asset that we have, for every Lambda function, for every S3 bucket, for every cloud asset that we use, we have to define an identity. And we should define it as granularly as possible. This identity tells us what this cloud asset is allowed to do, and with what other cloud assets is it allowed to do it. And defining it too widely would enable cloud assets to perform actions we never intended them to do. And, the most familiar, most actions in the cloud happen between services and assets, not between a person and an asset. Everything is automated. It's the code that is running and triggering events. These events are API calls. And these API calls are the actions that we allow and don't allow to do in our cloud infrastructure. So if we don't define that well, we might have a Lambda function that is exploited by someone from outside of the organization. The Lambda function was supposed to write, a line to our database, but instead it writes the line and also takes a dump of the database and keeps it somewhere. And now what happened? We just, created a data leak because we did not specifically tell what is this Lambda function allowed to do. So Vered, you talked about our responsibility and the cloud provider's responsibility. I think we can see the differences between the different cloud providers. They all agree to the shared responsibility model. They agree that they are responsible for the bare metals, and we are responsible for the application layer. We are responsible to the network and so on. But we see different approaches. If you look at AWS and Azure, and I'm not supporting either of them, they just take different approaches. And when we come to choose our cloud provider, we should be aware as to what they each give us. In Azure, you have the security hub. It's one place with tons of security services adapted to the Azure cloud, which is really good if you have really good security background or if you have a very strong security team. In AWS, Well, you have several security services that you have to, sometimes you have to enable, sometimes they're automatically enabled, but you have to kind of orchestrate them together, and the
Have a
agenda.
security hub, I think. That
Sorry?
kind of, yeah, I'll let you go ahead and then.
Okay, so I'll just wrap it up. In AWS, yeah, you have the security hub. You have to decide what will be streamed into security hub, and you have to configure. For example, you have to enable logging. You have to enable all the logs and not only the accepted traffic logs. There is some configuration that the user has to do. And then, the cloud provider, the AWS tells them, listen, we created this service, you have to manage it. So we have to understand the pros and cons and decide which one is right for our organization.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that there is something I would love to mention here on top of what all you just said. I felt when the pandemic started that I worked with customers. I mean, I'm 2 years with the Perimeter 81, and most of the people, the IT managers and the CISOs we spoke with used to be network people, and we're talking about cloud and you know shift and lift and all lift and shift and all these concepts, and it's pretty clear for us. But I feel that one of the challenges were to work with these network people who manage those environments and start to explain them the importance and how easy it is, because sometimes it's, I mean, for people who work in the cloud or manage and plan platforms like we do, like I assume, Shira, you're doing that in your company, and I'm working in the same way with Perimeter 81. Shifting to use cloud services overnight and cloud security solutions overnight, it was something that for people who used to legacy solutions, traditional solutions, it was a real hard change. And even if they understand the concept of shared responsibility model and all these, things that we're talking about, it still needs, they still had to change their mindset. And I found that a real challenge many times because, you show them a demo and it's pretty obvious that they understand what they do, but it's hard for them to let go of other things that they used to do on-prem. And we're talking about models, and I'm always talking with my students about the fact that when we build a security strategy, and I think it works in the same way when we build a cloud migration strategy, we need to think about the PPT model, people, processes, and technology.
Right.
It's always a combination. We can't separate them. I mean, we can work with amazing cloud-based technologies. We can kind of customize them to the processes in the company, but we have to engage with the people, and the people have to be engaged with the process in order for this migration and for this thing to work. And building architectures and strategies for companies, it's still hard for them to completely cancel all their existing network environment and to not use legacy VPNs or legacy firewalls anymore. And I feel like part of this process is to find the balance and how we at least start with this combination at the beginning and take it sometimes in, I mean, with the pandemic, many of them didn't have any choice but adopt very fast the cloud solutions. But sometimes taking that in small steps, it helps organization to kind of adjust to this new reality, to this. So that takes me, and I see we have questions. We're gonna answer it. I think that our next question will kind of answer all these questions that we see here. First, I would love to hear your thoughts about what's the right way to adopt cloud technology, and what's your strategy, and if you can also mention how it can help companies overcome the developers' challenges and other challenges, because we only have 10 minutes, and I know those are topics we wanted to cover, and I see that it's very interesting for our audience. So I'll let you kind of mention these two topics together, the challenges and what's the best strategy to deal with that.
I can talk
yeah.
about I
Sorry,
can
go
talk
ahead.
about a little bit about the challenges or in the strategies, and maybe and the aspects of developers and stuff. And maybe Shira can expand and talk. So I think that there are a few, I think, strategies, and it depends on the company, right? The company phase. If we're talking about company which is just starting, a greenfield project, okay. Most probably they will go with a public cloud as the natural choice, right? Those companies has no legacy workloads, right? And if they have no regulations or other restrictions which prevents them from run publicly, okay, then it's a great match. I think this is like will be the native, the natural choice, just to go born to the cloud. This is what we call companies which are born to the cloud, right? This is a very famous term as well. So those companies can really, fully utilize the cloud goodies, focus on their business, move faster, and bring value and shorten the time to market, right? But if a company already has a product, right, is facing, some hard decisions, those company might already have invested in IT, right? Have data centers and IT manpower. Those company. I'm not sure that those company would necessarily abandon, right, all of those investments, right? It's a lot of money and effort they put into these processes. So we see, by the way, a trend of hybrid solutions, which all the cloud providers are now offering to the customers, right? And the hybrid solutions basically consist of a private on-prem environment and the public environment, and the communications between those environments. Can you hear me? Sorry, I think that. Okay, right. Sorry. Another option for a company is to go with hybrid solutions, right? If a company has regulations, okay, like data governance and stuff, okay. So for example, they can't put their data in the public cloud, like finance sectors, governments, military industries, right? They will probably go with a hybrid solution if they want to test the public cloud capabilities, right? By the way, this is the data governance issue is part of the reason that all the cloud providers are building new regions. In Israel, for example, such a tiny country, I think that all the major cloud providers are establishing here a region. And this is for this region, the regulation and data governance issue, okay, to allow industries or sectors like governments to put the data and to keep it inside Israel, okay, or the country. I think that Shira already mentioned the issue that a company is facing if their workloads or the architecture is not appropriate or is not optimized, let's say, for the cloud. Okay, so a company might need to rewrite or to architect, okay, or to re-architect, and this is a truly and this is a profound issue, right? It takes time, okay. So most of the companies the strategy that they're choosing is to go with evolution and not revolution. They are doing it in steps, right? They are moving one or two services, or using or integrating with one or two managed services, if you will, and starting to fill the public cloud. This is another strategy. And we don't have enough time, so I will let Shira talk a little bit about the issues and the challenges in the company and the actors in the company, I think.
I think that once the organization decided to migrate or to build a cloud native application, The next question is going to be how to do that well. And it's not like before it was perfect, and now in the cloud we have to figure out how to do it. It wasn't perfect before, but now is the time to learn how to do it the right way using this new technology. The actors are pretty much the same actors. The software developers were there before. The sysadmins are now called DevOps engineers, but basically it's their responsibility. If in the past their responsibility was to maintain the data center, now it's their job to maintain the CI/CD process. So it's a translation of this process into the cloud. And the security practitioners, the CISO, the security team, these guys existed before, but now they're in charge of, a little different things. And we shouldn't forget that this is also related to something that Sivan said, the people in the process, right? Security is always a layer 8 problem. At the end of the day, we can, put the best firewall, but then someone says, hey, I can have a hotspot from my smartphone and connect to the internet. So who cares about the firewall? And problem solved. So at the end of the day, we have to make sure that people are doing it the right way. Now, from my experience, what I came to understand is that we really try to do education for a long time, and it doesn't always prove itself, or it doesn't always pay back. Because, you teach this many things, people implement this many things, and then you have to buy more products that will enforce all the other stuff. People are just not doing it. Sometimes you have security champions. Sometimes you have people who care a little more about it, but it becomes to be kind of a carrot and a stick thing. And as security practitioners talk a lot about security being everyone's job, and it's true. We don't have a lot of time. So my message to people who are listening to us today is, guys, we tried to do education for long enough. It's time to bring in the right tools that will automate the things that we don't like to do. And in most cases, not in all, but in most cases, a machine would make a better decision. Not because people are making bad decisions, but because when I give a screen to a user and ask them to make a decision based on these dashboards and these numbers and these green and red colors, they look and they're not sure what to do. They prefer not to take an action, or they prefer to take something a little vague. A machine would make a decision. So it might be wise to use some automation here and, leave the decision making for other stuff. And this was the vision when we started Solvo. We wanted to do things automatically and save the time and the efforts from the user, so that they can focus on cloud acceleration.
Thank you so much. Those messages were great messages to wrap up the session with. It was a beautiful way for me to start the day with you, to Shira and Vered. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, CyberX, for organizing this amazing conference, highlight women in the cybersecurity industry, successful women and their achievements. I had the honor to participate in this conference and to bring cyber ladies, women in cloud, Solvo, and all the other people and organizations that are involved with all our activities. So thank you so much. And for our audience, if you want to have to reach out to us on LinkedIn, feel free to do that. If you have more questions, we would love to answer. And have a wonderful day. And beginning of the spring can be better. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Keep safe.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Safe. Thank you.